August 15th. So hopefully there will be some huge disclosures by then with regard to the new ~HZR 𝗧. And then there's the tribulation, right? So the tribulation is a relatively short period of time, which I don't think I'd call it short if you consider all of the wars that have been going on for the last minimum 100 years, but a relatively short period of time where everyone will experience worldwide hardships, persecution, disasters, famine, war, pain, and suffering, which will affect all of creation and precede judgment for all. I find that fascinating that it says precede judgment for all. I mean, look at how much coronavirus has affected the entire world. And I'd just say everyone's watching at this point. You guys can still hear me okay, right? It's just so quiet. Okay.
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. So, all right. So once again, I just dropped another one in here. Did that come through? Because I can see it, but I want to make sure these things are uploading.
Yes, it's there.
Okay,
it's there, Mickey.
Okay, so like I said before, Scott, one of the major signs in the heavens above really caught all the astronomers' attention when this sign appeared in the heavens on 9/23/2017. So September 23rd, 2017. The woman was clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, with a crown of 12 stars above her head. 9 of the stars are of Leo, and 3 of those wandering stars are Mercury, Mars, and Venus. And this is the first time that we'd seen this sign in the heavens for over 7,000 years. And
you want to give me that? You want to give me that date one more time?
Yeah, it's 9/23/2017, which totals 24.
So 9/23, 9 times 23 is 207, which is 20 times 7, which is 140, which is ~PODISHES, and 27 is JFK. And what year was it?
2017.
And 2 times 17 is 34, which is Grace. JFK, Grace, ~PODISHES. This will be a theme you'll hear later. Go ahead.
Yep. And so the 24 is also fascinating because there are 24 elders in the story of Revelation. There are 24 stars in the heavens that make up these 2 constellations. So there's 12 stars in Virgo, and then there's 12 stars creating the crown above her head.
And 12 times 12 is 144, and drop 1440, is there something, is where it says boom, 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 boom. A week to remember, dark to light, 125, John Kennedy, 125, blackout necessary, Q. And there was something else you said. 24. Well, 24 spelled out comes 167. Trump came down the escalator on the 167th day of the year. And 167 is not only enjoy the show with 198 days in the future, which is President Trump, but 167 is king of the world. And that leaves 198 days in the future, which is President J. Kennedy, a theme you'll hear later. Hit it.
Yeah, and she's crying out in pain as she gives birth to a child. And you can see that I kind of have a trail here in this image. The green trail is showing where Jupiter did a full retrograde in her womb. And again, like I said, this is so precise. I mean, you've got 4 wandering stars or planets, plus the sun and the moon, all lining up in just this perfect sequence. You can't make this up. This is definitely what it's stating in the story of Revelation. So that is, like I said, kind of the starting point. And once you have the starting point, you can identify the beginning and the end point of the tribulation, because we know it's 7 years. So this diagram here, which I'm just opening here locally. So this diagram here essentially is a timeline that goes from right to left, because that's how Jupiter moves across the sky. So it starts out in Gemini and it ends in Aquarius. But if we go all the way back 3.5 years from the sign of the Son of Man, which is what we call that sign we just went over, where the moon is at her feet and she's clothed with the sun and she's crying out in pain because she's giving birth, that's September 23rd, 2017. If we go back exactly 1,257 days, which is almost exactly 3.5 years, we see the blood moon over the Virgo. So I'm going to show you that in a second, and then we'll fast forward all the way up into the end of the tribulation, which is when Mercury and Jupiter conjunct on March 6th, 2021. Feel free to jump in anytime you want there, Negative.
Well, March 6th is 3 times 6 is 18, which is 666, the number of man. And 2021 is 221, 1,000 years apiece, 221. 20 and 21 is 41, which is king. So man, king, a theme you're going to hear about later.
Uh-huh. So going all the way back to 2012, this was the end of the Mayan calendar. It was the story of Nostradamus saying that World War III would begin. We also saw Putin take charge again. Not sure if we were in control of that asset at that time. We also saw Xi Jinping take over again in 2012, and then he took on more roles in the CCP in 2013. But I find it fascinating that the story also, I mean, I don't know that it starts in 2012, but I'm going to go all the way back to 2012, because also what happened in 2012 is Trump registered his Jupiter Golf Club LLC on September 28th, 2012. And obviously it's going to play later, but go ahead.
So 2012 is Lincoln's birthday, to February 12th, because 0 means nothing. And TWONE, TWO is 150, Trump train is 150. The secrets of the universe are 369. 369 spelled out comes to 150. And on drop 1440, the boom, 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 the second boom, the third boom, and the fourth boom are 3 spaces, 6 spaces, and 9 spaces over, which 369, the secrets of the universe. And again, if you spell them out, just like TWONE, TWO comes to 150 Trump train. Just spell out 3, 6, and 9. It comes to 150, which is Trump train. Hit it.
Yeah. So in 2013, so November 3rd, 2013. So this would have been 7 years to the delta of the most recent election. Trump tweets out this fairly precarious tweet about Trump Jupiter. He says, "Awesome new clock at Trump Jupiter would look so good between range, putting green will happen." Now, what I think he's doing here is he's drawing our attention to the ecliptic clock. And he's saying to pay attention to Trump and Jupiter. So what Trump does and what Jupiter's doing in the sky or the heavens above. And obviously between range, putting green comes into play in the future. But something I wanted to also pay attention to is, so Jupiter takes 12 years to make a full loop around the zodiac or the clock. And in fact, what's interesting is I had posted a slide a second ago about 2012 where Jupiter is in the Taurus, the bull, and that's about where Jupiter was when 9/11 hit 12 years prior to this. So I just think it's really interesting that there's this 12-year cycle that goes on, and they almost tried to sabotage the prior 12-year cycle with 9/11 because they're always, even the enemy is paying attention to the sky.
Yeah, 20 and 12 spelled out come to 194, which is on the drop 1440, which is blackout necessary, comes to 194. So just interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so not only does it take 12 years for Jupiter to make it all the way around this ecliptic line, but it also does 12 retrogrades. And every time it goes through, it makes a different retrograde in a different location. The retrograde, again, is when it does a loop, and it actually starts slowing down, and it's only looks like it's slowing down because it's coming toward us. That's called station 1. And then when it's in its middle point of its retrograde, that's called opposition, because it's at its brightest and strongest, and a lot of things have happened on the earth plane when it's brightest and strongest. And then as it comes back around to do its return back to prograde, it goes into station 2. Again, many things happen as it's doing that on the earth plane. That's why I just always tell people about the retrograde. So not only does it take 12 years, 12 is a very active number for Jupiter, because there are 12 constellations, there's 12 years, 12 retrogrades, there's 12 tribes of Israel, there's 12 apostles, there's like I said, 12 stars in the Virgo, there's 12 stars in the crown above her head. So that 12 is a very prominent number for Jupiter. Okay, so next thing you know, so obviously the first thing that where we start this story is Jupiter entering into Gemini. Now, Gemini has multiple meanings. Again, multiple meanings exist, and you kind of have to open your mind to the fact that there are many myths and, Greek and Roman myths behind Gemini. But what I found most striking is that the ancient manuscripts actually depict Gemini, and this would have been during the time of the writing of the Bible, as a man and a woman, or a bride and a bridegroom. So two lovers, possibly even Adam and Eve. And so when you consider that story and you look at what happened, Jupiter goes into a retrograde, and it basically goes to connect, and it does a station 1 in the groin of the first character, and then it does station 2 into the groin of the second character. Then it pulls out, and we get a blood moon in the heavens above over the Virgin. Now, the Virgin is further ahead in the zodiac, but the fact that the blood moon happens right over her groin would imply that she has just lost her virginity. Now, that's on April 15th, 2014. I should probably look up to see if there's any major events happening that day. That would be really cool.
We were told in 2020 it was going to be hot. Hot is August 15th, 20, because T is 20, O is 15, and H is 8. So it's still going to be hot this summer, but it'll be, the 21 will follow. There's still going to be an August 15th, 2021. And 21 spelled out comes to 141. I am the storm 141, Mr. President 141. So who knows what hot will end up being. Go ahead.
Yep. So in Revelation 1:6, it says, "To him who loves us and has freed us from our sins by his blood and has made us to be the kingdom and priests to serve his God and Father. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen."